Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a doctor, a psychiatrist, and the head of the Medical Information Center. Since I'm blogging, today I want to talk to you. Some people ask me, you are a psychiatrist. Why do you deal with nutritional deficiencies? How did this happen? Some do this in a rather harsh and very disrespectful manner. Some people are genuinely interested. I want to tell you why, what, and how. I'll try to keep it brief so as not to drag things out. I received a higher medical education, went into psychiatry, and wrote my final thesis at the end of my internship with excellent marks. My work remained at the department as a model example. But when I worked as a psychiatrist, I realized that psychiatry doesn't work. It just doesn't work, you see. And absolutely all of my colleagues openly said that psychiatry doesn't help these people, that it's impossible to help them. And when, so to speak, in my youthful enthusiasm, I would say, well, then what's the point? I mean, we got an education, we came here to help people. They told me, to be honest, our profession isn't really needed because even monkeys can be taught to prescribe haloperidol. Later, I worked for many years in a human rights organization. I was the president of the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, first in the Urals and then in Russia, in Moscow. And in fact, I approached the work of a psychiatrist from the legal side as well. And there were investigations into the situation in psychoneurological institutions and the unlawful admission of people to psychiatric hospitals and how psychiatric drugs are used to alter consciousness, to make a person, for example, sign a will or a document transferring property and so on. And when naturally I communicated with a huge number of psychiatrists, I spoke with chief physicians since I attended conferences and so on and so on. And, they would say to me, when I said that psychiatrists should become doctors again, well, what is happening now is not medicine. They spoke to me so condescendingly, like, well, go ahead and do it. Go and show us what you can do. Go and show us what you can do. Cure people of psychosis. And when I stopped working as president, that thought stayed in my head. Show what you can do. And now for quite a significant number of years already, we are currently in our 7th consecutive year of dedicated work. I have actually discovered this specific path and direction. That is to say, I found highly relevant and applicable scientific data regarding the underlying causes of psychosis, and about the fact that a huge number of causes of psychosis are triggered by is hunger. It's ordinary hunger, just disguised nowadays. That is, it seems like a person is eating something, but in reality they are not getting the necessary nutrients, they're starving. It turned out that a huge topic in medicine is nutrient deficiencies. In medicine, this is called avitaminosis and hypovitaminosis. It's a huge topic. It's simply been thrown away like garbage. No one knows about it anymore. Doctors are no longer taught about it. There are no more books on it. Real books with research. Even though academic psychiatrists such as Maya Sishchav, when discussing the causes of psychosis, he directly pointed to vitamin deficiencies, directly stated that this is a cause of psychosis. And in the modern world, there is a huge proportion. A large share of these causes of psychosis comes from the use of drugs and medications. Various ones, yes. I saw statistics at one of the conferences on drug addiction, where psychiatrists themselves said that about 50%, 70% of psychoses in young people are caused by drugs. 70%. And what do we see when parents or the young people themselves come to us? The young people themselves come less often. Usually it's the parents who tell us that their child was normal, then suddenly lost their mind, was taken to a psychiatric hospital, and diagnosed with schizophrenia. It doesn't happen like that, you understand? It doesn't happen that a perfectly healthy person suddenly goes insane out of nowhere and suddenly there's some terrible schizophrenia, that it just came over them. Most likely in that case, there was serious drug use beforehand. It's either a consequence of taking some kind of street drugs or some kind of synthetic substances. There was something like that. There are some new drugs appearing now that cause completely bizarre psychoses, especially when they're smoked. So, you see, the problem of psychoses can be solved, and what's most interesting is that everything one way or another comes down to human physiology. Why are there nutrient deficiencies? And why are we able to pull people out of psychosis? And why are we able to take people off psychiatric medications such as neuroleptics? Even though these are very heavy substances, and neuroleptics were not designed to be discontinued. Neuroleptics are substances that are designed so that once a person starts taking them, they take them for the rest of their life. That's right, they are created that way chemically. That's the idea behind these substances. And why are we able to take people off them? Because again, we return to the work of real psychiatrists, academics, the old psychiatrists who pointed out the causes of psychosis, and the causes of psychosis have not changed. Because absolutely all toxic substances cause nutrient deficiencies. Absolutely all toxic substances. Because vitamins are not specific. They are detoxifiers. What does that mean? It means that there are poisons for which there are specific substances, antidotes, and it's just very hot here, and there's a fan blowing on me right now so I can record the video. So there are substances that act as detoxifiers or antidotes to all toxins. These substances are vitamins. And if a doctor or specialist, for example, a vitagnost, knows how to correctly identify the manifestations of these deficiencies and properly recommend supplementation with these detoxifiers, then gradually a person returns to normal and comes out from under this toxic influence of drugs or psychiatric substances. And gradually it becomes possible to wean the person off these substances. Of course, every time we are dealing with a specific individual. The problem with such substances, psychoactive substances, is that they change a person's personality. And there are people who lose themselves under the influence of these substances. They forget what it's like to feel emotions. And when a person starts to break free from these substances, they feel uncomfortable when they suddenly begin to feel again, whether it's grief or anger or fear. And here, unfortunately, these substances can create a synthetic personality. And this is where a big problem arises. But this is not the problem. It's not a problem of the mechanics of how to get a person off these substances. The problem lies with the personality itself, which has been under the influence of these substances for so long that the person has forgotten themselves and now cannot accept themselves without these substances. There are people who are very strong. Even if they have been taking these neuroleptics for years, they still remember who they were before taking them. And they can see how they have changed emotionally under the burden of these substances. And these people, even after long-term use, have a serious chance of getting off these substances because they want to return to their original selves. This is a very important point. This is what is called psychological dependence. Do you understand? That's what it is. This is, for example, the problem of drug addicts who don't know what to do with themselves, so they entertain themselves with drugs. When, as professionals, we can rid him of this, then as a person he doesn't understand how to live. Nothing interests him. He hasn't developed an interest in life. He doesn't understand where to find it. This good mood, he doesn't understand where to draw it from. Goals in life, he doesn't understand how to live in general, how to handle ups and downs, how to get through gray days, how to endure periods of despondency, how to feel joy. A person doesn't know any of this because, well, this is exactly what psychological dependence is. This is the most unpleasant part. And in this regard, I want to respond to a question, to a comment that came from Bogdan Andreev on my video, what psychiatrists keep silent about. He wrote to me, well, okay, so he watched it, right? But what should I do if I feel like crap and my life is already falling apart because of depression? Ladies and gentlemen, a person's head doesn't walk around separately from their body. It is virtually impossible for it to occur. That a person enjoys excellent physical health and overall well-being, strictly follows a proper work and rest schedule, maintains a balanced and healthy diet, receives all the necessary nutrients without any nutritional deficiencies, and yet somehow still continues to experience a sense of being unwell or lethargic. It doesn't happen that a healthy, physically fit person feels so depressed that their life is falling apart. Do you understand? And as in any situation, you need to look into it. And the first thing you need to start with is finding out what the respected Bogdan Andreev eats. So what does this person eat? Does this person follow any restrictive diets? Does this person have any ideas, opinions, or false information about nutrition that he follows? Has this person used or is he using any medications or drugs? Does he have any illnesses that... What is depression that wears you out? Is it pain? It is a deep physical suffering rather than a moral distress. It is specifically a physical pain that a person is unable to pinpoint or localize. Or, I, for example, can say that there is a kind of pain that, in principle, a person, even if we ask him, he says, yes, it really hurts. But it's so unpleasant that it causes depression, aggression, a bad state, knowing that it's pain in the gastrointestinal tract. Any, even minor, pain in the gastrointestinal tract causes depression, any at all, even if it's minor, if it lasts for a short time. Well, okay, for example, you were eating food that wasn't heavily seasoned, and then you ate something with some really spicy seasonings. And now you feel a burning sensation, and it's unpleasant for you. That's it, this is short-term pain. It won't lead you to serious, severe depression. Although you will become irritable, you'll become unpleasant to interact with. You'll start having thoughts that basically you'll feel like everything is bad for you, and you'll start digging up some negatives and unpleasant moments from your life, you see? But this is not depression, it's the result of you experiencing pain. But there is another kind of pain. There is chronic pain, there is pain that exists but is kind of below a person's sensitivity threshold, and they don't really even feel it much. And if we're talking about the pain that the body experiences from vitamin deficiencies or hypovitaminosis, then it basically can't be localized. Because if you watch my videos about vitamins, you'll understand that vitamins affect completely different organs and systems. And it's impossible to pinpoint exactly where this pain is located. But a person feels the pressure of this pain, which they can't identify as pain, and they are in a constant state of depression. But this is a physiological depression, and just by watching a movie, or by taking a walk or buying something nice, it simply doesn't go away. And that's why it's considered you got sick. No, you didn't get sick. At the very least, you didn't get sick with depression. But there is some factor constantly present in the body that causes pain which hasn't been identified. And then as a result of this, what do we have? The doctor didn't identify it, the doctor doesn't know. As I already said, the information has been discarded, no one knows. Now, doctors aren't taught about this topic at all. Right now, pharmaceutical companies are basically running everything with the goal that doctors just sit and prescribe pills. It's just wonderful. Can you imagine the opportunity to put everyone on antidepressants, for example, without finding out the cause or the results? And as a result, the person starts taking antidepressants. So they already have a painful condition, and most likely they also have vitamin deficiencies or hypovitaminosis. They prescribe toxins for him which definitely lead to vitamin deficiencies and which in turn cause depression themselves. That's exactly how this mechanism works. When one antidepressant stops working for a person, they switch them to another antidepressant because they have slightly different shifts in detoxification, meaning these non-specific detoxifying agents, and that's when they start playing these games. But is that really treatment? And that's it, the person just gets caught up in this vicious cycle, and it leads them to illnesses. Serious illnesses that no one directly associates with antidepressants, like cancer, for example, or a stroke, or thrombosis, or some other severe condition. Because the person is constantly exposed to toxic effects, a constant toxic impact that is never resolved. The cause of the initial condition is unknown to anyone, and so we simply bring the person to a serious state of illness. They consume pharmaceutical products, their condition worsens, and they are loaded with even more medications. Well, in fact, the result is pretty clear. It's definitely poor health. So what I want to say to Mr. Andreev is this. Antidepressants are not the solution, even if your condition is so bad that your life is falling apart because of depression. You need to find out the cause. There is such a law. If you think you've found the reason why this situation is happening, whatever it may be, if you found it, for some reason the situation starts to change for the better, it begins to improve, or it simply disappears. But if you think you found the reason and the situation doesn't change or gets worse, then you found the wrong reason. So taking antidepressants for depression is the wrong reason. Why? It's not that your body lacks antidepressants. Do you understand? You were born with this body, you've lived for some number of years or decades, and antidepressants somehow got lost along the way. No. The body. To be healthy and feel good, the body does not need antidepressants. If such a situation exists, then you need to look for the very reason why. And when the reason is found, then the situation will disappear. And you will feel better. I hope I have answered the questions of my dear subscribers. We had a little chat together. I want to ask everyone who watches our channel without subscribing to please subscribe to our channel, because your subscriptions help promote our video in YouTube's algorithms. And people for whom this situation is vitally important will be able to see this video. Because very often we get comments asking why someone hadn't seen our video earlier. We also receive comments saying, "Thank you so much, I saw your video just in time." So if you want to help people, help your family and loved ones, subscribe to the channel and share it on your social networks, send it to your relatives. Also, as a nice bonus for subscribers, when we reach 500,000, we will give away 3 sets of these amazing books. Books by Professor Zlepsky. This is a technology for nutrient deficiency, lost knowledge that we have found and restored, which is now available. And if they were destroyed and removed from libraries, we have restored them for publication. A very high quality publication. And I believe that with proper care, these books will last another 100 years. And you will tell your descendants why they should read them and why it is important to know about this topic. I also want to remind you that we have groups on social networks, Facebook, Odnoklasniki, and VKontact. Our group is called Evidence-Based Medicine. You can find it by searching the content in our groups. I created myself. We don't have any silly content and we don't have, let's say, entertainment content. Every week I post quotes from these books. I select some serious quotes, ones where after reading 1, 2, or 3 sentences, you get a solution or a complete thought, something you can apply or something that answers a particular question. I post this regularly. There is also communication there in case we have any announcements or news to share. I also post articles there. I am subscribed to many professional medical communities, which you can only join by presenting your diploma. There are some interesting publications there. If I think they are worthy of your attention, I repost them and add my own comments. We have some interesting ones like that. We don't overwhelm you with content. In other words, we don't overload your feed. Everything we post is relevant, and it's also that you stay informed and keep your finger on the pulse. Thank you very much for your attention. I want to say that we are working as usual. The program for correcting nutrient deficiencies is ongoing. If you need our help, please come to us. We will be happy to assist you. This was Sofya Dorinskaya with you. All the best. Goodbye.